Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive shift happening in medicine, how the pharmaceutical industry is finally going through a digital revolution. We're talking about leaving behind the old world of one-size-fits-all pills and stepping into a future that's built completely around you, the patient.
So to understand where pharma is headed, we first need to look at why it was forced to change in the first place. This is its digital wake-up call.
And this brings us to a really interesting paradox, right? How can an industry that designs these incredible life-saving therapies at a molecular level be so far behind when it comes to digital tech? It's a question that really gets to the heart of this whole transformation.
And yeah, when you look at the data, the picture is pretty stark. While other industries jumped on the digital bandwagon years ago, fewer than 30% of pharma companies have made a real leap. And this isn't just about being slow, it has real-world consequences for all of us as patients.
Look, this is way more than just adding a few new apps or some fancy software. We're talking about a fundamental shift in mindset. For decades, the model was all about the product, and the customer was the doctor. The new model? It flips that completely. Now it's all about being patient-focused and creating a smooth, data-driven experience for the person who actually needs the care.
And if you've ever been a patient, you know exactly how this disconnect feels. Your doctor's office sends you a form with what feels like a million questions to fill out.
And then, what happens? Your insurer turns around and asks for the exact same information on a totally different form. It creates this confusing, frustrating maze. Now just imagine that problem scaled up across hundreds of thousands of patients. It's a system that is just begging for a digital fix.
So, how does digital technology actually solve these deep-rooted problems? Well, the solutions are popping up everywhere, transforming everything from the research lab all the way to your living room.
Okay, let's start with R&D because this is a total game changer. It's called the synthetic control arm. Instead of giving placebos to real people in a trial, researchers can now create a virtual comparison group using data. This is revolutionary. It can shave years and millions of dollars off drug development, which means life-saving treatments get to patients way faster than before.
So you're probably wondering, where does all this data come from? It's from what's called real-world evidence, basically data that's gathered outside of a typical clinical trial. We're talking information from electronic health records, data from your smartwatch or other wearable devices, patient registries. All of it gets pulled together to build these incredibly powerful virtual models.
So here's how it works. Pretty simple, actually. First, you gather all that real-world data. Then, using AI, you build a super precise digital twin of a patient group. And finally, you can compare how a new drug performs against that virtual model. And listen, this isn't just some far-off theory. The FDA has already approved drugs using this exact method. It's a massive step forward.
But this revolution isn't just happening in the lab. To fix that broken patient experience we talked about, pharma is taking notes from a place you might not expect: retail. I mean, think about how seamlessly a store connects your online shopping cart with your in-person visit. That kind of unified, friction-free journey, that's the new goal for healthcare. And the scale of this challenge is it's massive. A single program designed to help patients get a new therapy can involve over 500,000 people and more than 1,000 support staff. Trying to manage that kind of complexity without a smart digital strategy is pretty much impossible.
Okay, so having the right tech is one thing, but how do companies actually make this all work? The real advantage comes from smart execution. So let's take a look at the playbook for success. The companies that are really nailing this are following a four-part strategy to make this digital shift a reality. It all comes down to moving to the cloud, automating with AI, making smart calls on partnerships, and embracing open innovation.
First up is going all in on a cloud-first strategy. For a long time, pharma was really hesitant here, because of all the strict privacy and regulatory rules, but that's changed. Now, the big players like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google offer tools specifically built for healthcare's tough compliance needs. That makes the cloud a really powerful and secure foundation for innovation. Next comes a huge strategic decision that every single company has to face. Do you try to build every single digital tool yourself from the ground up? Or do you partner up with experts who have already solved some of these crazy complex problems?
And, there's no single right answer here. It really depends on a few key questions, like what technology actually gives you a unique competitive edge? And does it really make sense to solve every problem from scratch, or could you get ahead faster by using a partner's existing solution, like a pre-built data hub or AI model?
And the final piece of this strategic puzzle is something called open innovation.
Really, all this means is moving beyond simple one-on-one partnerships and building entire ecosystems where companies, researchers, and tech firms all work together to create new solutions faster and cheaper for everyone. So, after all this talk about the cloud, AI, and synthetic control arms, what's the big takeaway here? What does all this tech jargon actually mean for the future of medicine, and maybe more importantly, for your health?
Well, here's the bottom line. The future pharma isn't just about being digital, it's about being patient-centric. Every single piece of this transformation we've talked about, the data, the cloud, the AI, it all points toward one single goal, improving your personal health outcomes. And this whole thing leaves us with a final, really important thought. As our healthcare becomes more personalized, more connected, and more data-driven, this revolution puts a ton of power and information directly into our hands as patients. So the real question is, what role will you choose to play in your